Hey everyone, and welcome to Boston Autovlog. We are back once again with the Subaru Forester, but this time around we're taking a look at the 2021 model, and it's also a Touring. Now, as you guys have probably noticed over the last few months or so, I've been doing a lot more test drives on the channel to really get a more in-depth look at the vehicles I'm featuring. And that's exactly why I am back at Subaru of Wakefield to take a look at this crossover and see how it compares to the Subaru Crosstrek and also the Outback. I have stated numerous times on the channel this year that the Forester is the most family-friendly two-row crossover in the lineup. It's most certainly more practical than the Crosstrek, although it's a bit more expensive. And then when you're comparing it to the Outback, I still think overall it's a better vehicle. The approach and departure angles make the Forester a better off-road worthy vehicle. And then when you look at the rear legroom for passengers in the back, I think the Forester is more spacious. You could most certainly fit a third person, whereas with the Outback, not so much. However, the Outback has a better engine option with a 2.4-liter turbocharged boxer 4-cylinder engine. So in this video, we're going to once again take a look at the Subaru Forester and see why, whether you're on a budget or you're just debating whether to go with a Forester or an Outback, going with this vehicle right here might be a great decision. Now, before I get in this review, I'd like to thank Subaru of Wakefield in Wakefield, Massachusetts for allowing me to do this review. Their link will be in the description below so you can check out their extensive Subaru inventory. And then speaking of inventory, Subaru of Wakefield is home to the largest selection of vehicles in New England, and I have to say this place is filled to the brim with new cars. They also have over 75 used vehicles available on inventory right now, so if you're in the market for a new or used car, Subaru of Wakefield is definitely the place to go. Also, with it being the holiday season, it's Subaru Shares a Love sales event, which means from now until the beginning of the year, if you walk into Subaru of Wakefield and purchase a vehicle, Subaru will donate $250 to a charity of your choice. Also, Subaru of Wakefield will donate $50 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation for Massachusetts and Rhode Island. As I stated over the last year or so, doing videos here at Subaru of Wakefield, the dealership is all about charity work and giving back to the community. And that's why, if you stop by and purchase a new Subaru from now until the beginning of January, they'd really appreciate if you use that $250 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation for Massachusetts and Rhode Island, as that is a charity that the dealership works very closely with. And so, with all that being said, let's get right in this review. Americans just can't seem to get enough of compact crossovers, as it appears as though more and more consumers are drawn in by the practicality, utility, and value for the price these vehicles offer. The Subaru Forester is the very essence of what it takes to be an all-around great family vehicle in this segment. And on Boston Autoblog, we've discussed numerous times that this crossover, in many ways, is better than the slightly more popular Outback that's going to provide a newer and tech-driven interior. Due to its pricing and size, the Forester is more appealing than the Crosstrek simply because of its improved versatility, and when compared to the Outback, is the better option for a growing family, which is why popularity for this compact crossover has increased despite the Outback offering a turbocharged engine and a more refined cabin. Starting off with pricing, the Subaru Forester Touring comes in at $34,895, and with no additional packages available, you're receiving a crossover that's fully loaded at a very reasonable price. As with all crossovers in the Subaru lineup, the Forester has a ground clearance of 8.7 inches to outclass every competitor in this price range. And with the squared off front and rear bumpers, the approach and departure angles makes the Forester a formidable off-roader, or at the very least, a winter warrior that can take on harsh winter conditions. As we take a look at the exterior, nothing changes for 2021. However, standard for all models is steering responsive LED headlights for improved illumination compared to halogens, and this seems to be a feature Subaru is focusing on for the 2021 model year across their lineup. With the Touring, LED fog lights will add a more upscale road presence to the overall appearance up front, and as we've seen throughout the last few years, chrome accents surrounding the front grille gives the Forester a classy look. Moving over to the side profile, the Touring trim will be sitting on 18-inch aluminum alloy wheels with a black machined finish. Setting this trim apart from the rest of the Forester models, you'll get satin chrome side mirrors with turn signal indicators to go along with blind spot detection for added safety. Coming around to the back, our model has the optional rear bumper cover to prevent scratches when you're loading up items into the back of the Forester, which blends in well with the already existing plastic cladding found throughout the exterior. You'll have LED taillights for a modern appearance, and as we saw up front, there's no changes to the road presence of the Forester for 2021. Under the hood, the Subaru Forester is still powered by a 2.5-liter Boxer 4-cylinder engine, putting out 182 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a CVT. There's been rumors and speculation that the Forester may receive a turbo in the near future, whether that be the 1.8-liter sold in Japan or the 2.4-liter found in the Legacy and Outback. But either way, enthusiasts would certainly welcome the upgrade with open arms. As always, Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive system will come standard, making the Forester one of the best year-round crossovers in this price range. For fuel economy, you can expect to see right around 26 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway. Inside, you're greeted by power-adjustable heated leather seats for both the driver and passenger for a nice entry-level luxury feel, which also enhances the soft and relaxed driving environment you find yourself in when behind the wheel. The driver's side will also have a 2-position memory function for added convenience. In front of you, between the analog gauges, a digital display will provide additional information, such as fuel economy and tire pressure monitoring. The screen is also home to your advanced adaptive cruise control settings as well, which can be adjusted by using the buttons mounted on the right side of the steering wheel. As you'll experience with the Crosstrek, Impreza, and Ascent, a secondary screen will sit above the infotainment system, and it's here where your turn-by-turn navigation, climate control displays, and outside weather are all shown to you. You can also monitor your eyesight driver assist technology systems as well to see which safety features have been activated or deactivated. Moving down to the infotainment system, you'll have an 8-inch touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, Bluetooth connectivity, and onboard navigation. Of course, with the Forester being a touring model, you will have the upgraded 9-speaker Harman Kardon premium audio system coming standard. For most Subaru buyers, the traditional user interface that provides quick access buttons and dials for the volume and tuning knobs are welcoming sights to most of the brand-loyal buyers who prefer less technology in their vehicles. Resolution and responsiveness are pretty good, and overall it's a very user-friendly infotainment system that requires little to no time to get used to. You'll get a rear backup camera with trajectory to go along with rear cross traffic alert and rear automatic braking for added safety. Below, you'll find the buttons and knobs for your dual zone climate control and front and rear defrosters. And as we work our way down towards the center console, you'll have a cubby for your smartphone, and you'll also find 2 USB inputs. For 2021, nothing changes for the Forester when it comes to button layout, as you'll still have a rotary dial for the dual function X mode and the switches for your 2-level heated seats. For the center storage compartment, you'll have enough room for a smartphone or smaller items. And above will be a panoramic moonroof to let in a lot of natural light to the cabin. Now for passengers in the back, we're going to start off on the driver's side. And of course, this seat is adjusted to someone of my height, around 5'5", and I have plenty of legroom to work with here. And of course, keep that in mind, I'm not the tallest person out there, so definitely take that in consideration when you're looking at buying a Forester. Now, when it comes to headroom, you have a lot more of it when you're comparing it to that Outback, because the Outback has more of a station wagon-like roofline, whereas this is more of a traditional compact crossover. So I just think that when it comes to taller passengers, this vehicle is definitely more conducive for them when you're comparing it to an Outback. Now, for the center seat, this is really where I feel as though you can fit a third person for sure. You have a good placement for your feet. Of course, the center hump is not as aggressive as you would find in the Outback, and this is why I feel as though that if you had 3 kids back here, they'd all be comfortable for sure. Now, when it comes to shoulder room, that's a different story, because I think shoulder room, of course, this is a compact crossover, so if you have average size adults, they are going to be a bit squished. But I do think for kids, for younger kids, this most certainly works, especially if you're not ready to upgrade to an Ascent. And then for the passenger side, the seat is adjusted further back. It's also on a recline, and I still have a few inches of legroom to work with here. Now, I'd assume the seat is adjusted probably somewhere around maybe 6 foot tall, so it's great to see that I still have room to work with here. One important aspect that I really want to focus on with the Forester is the fact that it's very family oriented, but family oriented in the sense that it's suitable for people of all ages. Now, there is going to be that time where you're going to have your parents or your grandparents in the second row. And of course, they're not going to be as agile or mobile. It's very difficult for them to get out of the car. And of course, I've experienced this firsthand. And with the Forester, the way the molding is, the way the door frame is, it's very easy for them to step out of the vehicle. And that's in conjunction with the seating position. The way the seating position is, it's just very easy to get in and out of the Forester. And that is why I think whether you have kids, the grandparents, or your parents in the second row, it's very conducive for that family. And that's why I believe that when you're looking at a Subaru around $30,000 and you're not sure whether to go with the Crosstrek, the Forester, or the Outback, I do believe that the second row is the main selling point, and that's why I personally think it's the better option out of the 3. Also back here, you will get 2 rear air vents to go along with 2 level heated outboard seats, 2 USB inputs, and rounding out the rear seating area, you do get a center armrest with 2 cup holders. Now, coming around to the back, you will get a power liftgate. And inside, you'll find right around 29 cubic feet of rear cargo space with the second row seats up. With those seats folded down, that space will more than double in size to right around 70 cubic feet. So this vehicle in its segment is very competitive when it comes to practicality. However, if you are comparing the Forester to the Outback and you're leaning more towards the Outback, this is where you can make the argument that the Outback might be a better fit for you. However, my counter argument to your argument would be the fact that if you have a dog, he's going to be a lot more comfortable because the roofline is higher up, whereas the Outback, again, has that station wagon-like roofline, so you can fit longer items, but you just can't stack those items up as you can with the Forester. So definitely keep that in mind. I do think that the Forester is definitely more conducive for a family, whereas the Outback is more adventurous if you have skiing and snowboarding gear. But I do think that whether you're just an urban lifestyle person or you do go out on adventures, the Forester, even with the less cargo room, is still a very practical option to go with. Also back here, you will find quick release tabs on either side of the rear cargo area, and by pressing on them, the rear seats will fold easily and conveniently without any manual labor necessary. Also back here, you will have a rear cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. So if you are like me and you have camera gear and maybe you're going to a restaurant or you're going to a shopping mall or whatnot, you can leave your items back here with the peace of mind knowing that no one will be able to peek in and steal what you have. And then once you're done, just press the button and the liftgate will close automatically. Now, just like we saw with the Outback, the Forester has a really cool feature that goes hand in hand with the power liftgate. Now on the left side of the steering wheel column, you're going to notice 2 rows of buttons. And on the far left, on the top row, will be the button that will open and close your power liftgate. And by pressing and holding on the button, the liftgate will open automatically. And this is perfect for a day like today where it's around 30 degrees and the last thing I want to do is leave this nice, toasty, and warm vehicle. And also, with curbside pickup, you don't need to leave your vehicle to open the liftgate so that the person can store that stuff in the back of your Forester, and also requiring you to get in close contact with that person. And then once they're done storing up your Forester, you can just press the button once again, and the liftgate will close automatically, and now you're going to be back on the road to your next adventure. All right, so let's take the Forester out on a test drive, see how it compares and handles to the Outback and the Crosstrek. So the number one reason why I wanted to test drive the Forester is because I wanted to see how it compares to the Outback. I've been saying for months that the Forester is a better family-oriented crossover compared to the Outback. It's also more crossover-like in design and dimensions. But is it like that when it comes to driving dynamics? And I have to say, when it comes to driving this vehicle, it's very much different compared to the Outback. I do think, and really it's for marketing purposes, but I do believe that that Subaru throws around the term crossover very lightly, but it's done very well for them because the Outback is considered a crossover, and there's really no one out on the market today that can really truly compete with what the Outback is offering. But when it comes to the driving and handling dynamics, the Forester is most certainly different, just because you have a much higher sense when it comes to the seating position, and also when it comes to front vision, you have plenty of it. With the Outback, you have a lower roofline, and it gives you this car-like feel. Whereas the Forester, I have plenty of headroom, and it gives you this perception of being in a much bigger vehicle. And I do believe that if you are looking for a true crossover that gives you, a very similar feel to, say, a Toyota RAV4 or a Ford Escape, then I think going with the Forester is the better option out of the two when you're comparing it to an Outback. The Outback, to me, is just very car-like in driving. Now, for handling, steering is very tight and direct, which seems a little bit different compared to what I experienced in the Outback and the Crosstrek. And it almost gives me this European-like feel, and that's exactly what I love. I love having tight steering. It just gives me a little more confidence behind the wheel, and also it just gives me more of that engaging driving experience that, as a car enthusiast, I'm looking for. And then to go along with the suspension, it's very soft. This vehicle actually goes over the bumps pretty well, and for driving this vehicle on Massachusetts roads, you're going to need that because you are going to get thrown around. But I think that when it comes to driving around in urban areas, the Forester does a very good job of that. So as I head back to the dealership, I'm pretty sure that the test drive portion was probably very short compared to what I normally do. And I think it's just because I've been around the Forester so much over the last year or so that I feel as though I've already said everything I needed to in the last few reviews. But when it comes to the driving dynamics and handling, it handles the Boston roads very well. The suspension is very forgiving compared to the Outback, and that's just in my opinion. I think the Outback is definitely more car-like, and you certainly feel that. And with the Forester, I think if you're looking for a vehicle that is a little bit more on the softer side, that is just a great daily driver, and you're buying it for its practicality, I think the Forester is definitely the way to go, also because of the 2.5-liter four-cylinder engine. And I don't think a lot of people point this out, but with the 2.5, I actually don't think it pairs as well with the CVT as it does with the 2.4. And the reason why I say that is because when you're accelerating, and you're getting around 30 miles an hour, you definitely feel the CVT. But when you get to around 40, 50 miles an hour, it then starts mimicking a true automatic. Whereas with the Outback I had test driven about a month ago with the 2.4, it felt like a true automatic immediately. And I just think that what Subaru's trying to do is they're trying to make the Forester a little more of a practical and fuel-efficient vehicle. And I understand that. I completely get that. But I do think that With the Outback, you get more of an engaging driving experience just because of the turbo under the hood. But if we're talking about comfort and ride quality and ride height and seating position, then I think the Forester is probably the better of the two. Adding to my experience behind the wheel, what became noticeable to me after about 5 minutes into the test drive is that the Forester is the least likely vehicle to surprise you from Subaru. Unlike the Outback, which gives you more of a car-like feel while also being a bit more engaging to drive with the optional turbo engine, and the Crosstrek now having the 2.5-liter four-cylinder for better performance, the Forester is really your workhorse that fits the mold as being the jack-of-all-trades in the Subaru family. It's not the flashiest or most powerful, but it's practical, safe, and affordable, and is why it's become one of the best-selling vehicles in the lineup. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys next time.